What's up, Blue and Silver Nation? You feel that? That buzz in the air? That mix of anticipation and electricity that only hits when something big is about to go down in Detroit. The NFL clock is ticking, and this time, the Lions aren't just watching. They're ready to strike. 5 years of building, grinding, and believing have brought this team here. A group that doesn't just play football, they live a culture. Grit, loyalty, unfinished business. And now, with the market about to explode, the question is, what's the next move? Because standing still has never been an option in Detroit. So go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Who do you think the Lions should target before the trade deadline? Let's talk, because this fan base, we make ourselves heard. Now buckle up, because today's episode dives straight into the heart of a potential move that could shake everything up in Allen Park. This is the moment. This is the energy. One pride. Let's roar. In just over a month, the NFL trade deadline looms, and all signs point to the Detroit Lions stepping into that market not as spectators but as buyers. Year 5 under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell has built something bigger than just a football team. It's a culture of grit, loyalty, and unfinished business. And now, with both starting quarterbacks sidelined, the Lions find themselves in a position where doing nothing simply isn't an option. Moves must be made. But the question is, what kind? You can feel it, right? That energy building as fans speculate, debates ignite, and the rumor mill starts spinning faster every day. The Lions aren't the same organization they were just a few short years ago. They've evolved. They've drafted smart, built strong, and invested deeply in the trenches. Offensive line? Done. Linebacker? Handled. Secondary? Upgraded. Repeatedly. But one need continues to echo through every conversation. The edge rusher. The relentless force off the line that can change a game in one snap. And no matter how much the roster improves, that pursuit hasn't faded. That's where today's story takes us, deep into the heart of a potential move that could shake things up in Allen Park. Welcome to Fire Sale New Orleans Saints Edition. It's part of a series exploring struggling teams likely to start unloading veterans. And it begins with one name that keeps coming up: Cam Jordan. This connection isn't random. The New Orleans Saints are sliding toward a rebuild, and Cam Jordan, a franchise legend, still fighting, still producing, sits right at the center of it all. There's history here. Dan Campbell spent time in New Orleans, knows that locker room, knows that culture, and there's a mutual respect between him and players like Jordan. So when former Good Morning Football host Kay Adams mentioned that she'd like to see Jordan in Detroit, fans started to imagine it. Could this actually happen? Jordan's resume speaks for itself. Drafted back in 2011, he's been the heartbeat of that Saints defense for over a decade. 6'4", 36 years old, and still bringing pressure every week. 2.5 sacks through 5 games this season on a bad team that's struggling to find identity. But what truly separates him isn't just production, it's consistency. In 15, maybe 16 years in the league, Cam Jordan has missed just 2 games. 2. That's unheard of. Durability like that? It's the definition of reliability. His peak came in 2019 with 15.5 sacks. His lowest? 1 sack as a rookie. Even in the twilight of his career, he continues to perform at a level most players half his age can't match. But here's the reality. He's running out of time. Jordan's been loyal to New Orleans from day one, but loyalty doesn't always win championships. He missed the Saints' Super Bowl run. He's never held that Lombardi trophy. And with the team headed nowhere fast, one can't help but wonder if the chance to finally chase a ring might lead him to Detroit. Imagine it. A defense led by Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil returning soon, and Cam Jordan bringing that veteran presence off the edge. It's not hard to picture the impact. Muhammad has flashed 3.5 sacks already, but he's inconsistent. Hutchinson's sitting top 5 in quarterback pressures, on pace for 15-plus sacks. Add Jordan to that mix, and suddenly, opposing offenses are gasping for air.
So what would it cost? Financially, Jordan's deal isn't impossible. A 1-year, $6 million contract with the Saints, all guaranteed, a $4.8 million signing bonus, and a $9.7 million cap hit for 2025. The sticking point? A massive $28 million dead cap number for New Orleans. That's the weight that could keep this deal from happening, unless the Saints decide to do right by their longtime captain and eat the cost. And honestly, after 15 years of service, who would blame them? For Detroit, the move makes sense. Jordan's deal voids after this season, no long-term commitment, just a short-term shot of leadership and experience for a team with playoff dreams. And let's be real, a 6th-round pick could get it done. The Lions already gave up a 3rd-rounder for Isaac Tesfa, but they still hold their 1st, 2nd, 4th, and multiple 6ths. That's enough ammunition for a smart move, the kind Brad Holmes is known for. Of course, there's another name out there, Trey Hendrickson. Younger, costlier, and just as dominant. But trading for Hendrickson would require big money and a long-term plan, something that doesn't quite fit Detroit's current philosophy. Brad Holmes plays the long game. Every move is measured, every dollar deliberate. So while Hendrickson might be the flashier choice, Jordan feels like the move that fits the Lions' identity: tough, experienced, selfless, and all about the team. There's also the wild card scenario. What if the Saints release Cam Jordan? Like Calais Campbell's situation last season, New Orleans could decide to let their veteran choose his destination. If that happens, Jordan becomes a vested veteran, meaning he can pick his next team without going through waivers. Detroit would be an obvious landing spot. Familiar faces, a winning locker room, and a head coach who values warriors like him. And think about this, the Lions aren't just chasing wins anymore. They're building something sustainable. This roster has a mix of young stars and hungry veterans. They've already weathered major injuries and kept rolling. Adding a voice like Jordan's to that locker room could elevate the standard even more. It's not about replacing anyone. It's about reinforcing a culture. A player like Jordan walks into Allen Park, and everyone listens. He's seen it all, the highs, the heartbreaks, the grind. That kind of presence matters, especially for a team staring down the second half of a season where every game feels like a statement. Now, let's be honest, the chances of this happening depend on how aggressive Brad Holmes wants to be. The Lions might not sell anyone this year, too many injuries, too much invested in this run. But they have to buy something. Maybe it's a quarterback. Maybe it's an edge rusher. Either way, expect movement, because standing still isn't in this team's DNA anymore. And that's what makes this so exciting. Every move now carries weight. Every rumor feels real. Every fan can feel that this team is one or two pieces away from something special. So now I want to hear from you. If you're Brad Holmes, do you make the call? Do you bring in Cam Jordan for one last run? Let him chase that ring in Honolulu blue and silver? Or do you stay patient and trust the roster as is? Drop your thoughts in the comments, Lions Nation, because this conversation is just getting started, and the trade deadline clock is ticking. And that ticking clock feels louder every single week, doesn't it? Because this season, this specific moment, feels like the one the Detroit Lions have been building toward ever since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell arrived in 2021. Every decision, every draft pick, every painful rebuild year has been leading to this exact situation. The team isn't just competitive anymore, it's expected to win. And when expectations rise, so does the urgency to fill the missing pieces before it's too late. That's why this conversation about Cam Jordan isn't just about one player. It's about identity. It's about whether Detroit sees itself as a true contender right now or a team still waiting for its moment. Because contenders make bold moves when opportunity knocks, even if that move comes with risk, even if the name on the jersey is 36 years old. Think about it. Cam Jordan isn't just another veteran. He's a tone setter. He's been the face of a defense for more than a decade, the kind of player who brings instant credibility to any locker room he enters. When a guy like that steps into your defensive meeting room, every young player sits up straighter. Every rep in practice hits harder. Every standard rises. And maybe that's exactly what this Lions team needs right now. Someone who's seeing what greatness demands. Someone who can remind this roster that talent alone doesn't win championships. Accountability and consistency do. But let's also be real. Adding Jordan isn't without complications. He's carrying a heavy cap hit for the Saints, and that $28 million dead cap figure is no small number. For New Orleans, moving on would mean swallowing a lot of money just to let a franchise legend walk. But when teams slip toward a rebuild, and when veterans are chasing legacy more than paychecks, stranger things have happened. We saw it with DeAndre Hopkins, who was released despite a massive cap hit. We saw it with Calais Campbell, who left Miami because they respected his wishes to chase one more postseason run. So if the Saints truly want to do right by Jordan, and if he's ready to trade gold and black for Honolulu blue, there's a path. And Detroit would welcome him with open arms. Picture this, Week 10, Ford Field, playoff energy in the air. The defense lines up with Aiden Hutchinson screaming off one edge, and on the other, number 94, Cam Jordan, eyes locked on the quarterback, snarling like a man who's been waiting 15 years for one last shot at glory. Tell me that doesn't sound right. The chemistry would be fascinating too. Hutchinson is the future, the young superstar with the motor that never stops. Jordan is the past, the grizzled veteran who's seen every scheme, beaten every double team, and still wakes up hungry. Together, they'd be a nightmare for offensive lines and a dream for defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, who knows exactly how to unleash creative pressure packages when he's got talent to work with. But even beyond the field, this potential move represents something bigger: trust. Brad Holmes has always built this team with patience and precision, rarely panicking, rarely overpaying. But now might be the time to trust that the foundation is strong enough to support a bold swing. Because these windows in the NFL don't last forever. And while we're talking about trust, let's not overlook the locker room factor. The Lions have something special in that building. The unity, the energy, the brotherhood, it's real. You can feel it in every post-game celebration, every sideline huddle, every press conference. Bringing in a personality like Cam Jordan would only amplify that. He's a leader who leads with humor, with honesty, and with heart. The kind of guy who can walk into a new team and feel like he's been there for years. And there's a poetic twist to it too. Dan Campbell coached Jordan during his time with the Saints. He knows what kind of man he is, what kind of competitor he is. Campbell doesn't just bring in players for talent. He brings in people who fit his culture. If there's anyone who embodies grit, that word Campbell lives by, it's Cam Jordan. So let's put it all on the table. Cam Jordan, 36 years old, 2.5 sacks in 5 games this season, 15.5 sacks in his best year, 2 missed games in a 15-plus year career, a 1-year, $6 million contract that voids after this season, 0 Super Bowl rings. Tell me that doesn't sound like a man ready to go all in. Tell me that doesn't sound like someone who'd love to finish his career in a city that mirrors his own attitude, tough, blue-collar, unbreakable. Because Detroit isn't just any team anymore. It's a movement. It's a team that's rewriting its story in real time, and veterans across the league can feel that momentum. They see what Campbell's building. They see the buy-in. They see Ford Field shaking every Sunday. And players like Jordan, they want in on that. The Lions don't need to mortgage the future to take this shot. A 6th-round pick, maybe that's all it takes. The kind of low-risk, high-reward